You don't look a day older. Welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Why don't you talk about the despicable treatment of this woman that you were referring to?
Heavens, but this is a long time ago. I don't remember the particulars of it. But there is this ideological intolerance that Bell has, so that although he's fighting against the whites ostensibly, he's also fighting against those blacks who don't agree with him. He really has this sort of totalitarian mindset. It's quite sad because I once had an extended conversation with Professor Bell back in the early 70s, early 80s, and he's not a stupid man. But you have to understand, Derrick Bell was put in an impossible position. He was hired as a full professor at the Harvard Law School when he himself said that he did not have the kinds of qualifications that people have when they get appointed as full professors at the Harvard Law School. And so what were his options? His options would be a nobody, really, among world-famous intellectuals, or to go off on his own shtick and try to be important or significant in that way. And he chose the low road.
Let me ask you specifically about
the fundamental problem was making him a professor at the Harvard Law School when even he himself knew that that was not something that he merited.
What about this comment that he made here? I've accepted that motto. I live to harass white folk. On another occasion, I played this on my radio today, he talked about, you know, white boys getting tenure. What does it say about him? And as we look at this portrait of Barack Obama and Ayers, Dorn, Wright, Flager, Alinsky, Resko, Acorn, and the way he's governed, what does it tell you about the president?
That he, too, is not someone who is, he's turned his back on the ideal of a colorblind society, and he's really for I guess, a getting even society, a revenge society. And I think that the appointment of Eric Holder and Eric Holder's behavior as Attorney General shows that same mindset. It's very ugly. It's particularly ironic in the case of Bell because at one point in his career he fought against racism, and now he seems to have metamorphosed into someone who thinks that racism should not be eliminated but simply put under new management.
Are you talking specifically about Holder or about the president? You said the president turned his back on the concept of the idea of a colorblind society. That's a.
No, I was thinking about Derrick Bell, but it's also the case. I think it would apply certainly to Eric Holder and perhaps to the president.
What do you mean, perhaps, to the president? You see, for example, I think it's more ideological. You know, actually, the person that I am most concerned that he hung out with more than anybody. I didn't like Reverend Wright at all. I don't know how you sit there for 20 years. GD America's chickens have come home to roost. But I really am frustrated that the media did not vet him in 2008. How do you hang out with an unrepentant terrorist, give speeches with him, start your political career on his home, sit on boards with him, and get asked one question during a campaign season about that? Would that ever happen to a Republican?
Not that I know of. But it's one of those cases where people, they have made up their mind what they want to see in someone. And really, they're going to explain away anything that deviates from that. To try to talk, it's like having a friend who has gotten hooked up with some very bad woman. And the question is, are you going to try to tell him what's wrong with her, which is probably not going to change anything except to lose his friendship. And I think people have that.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think people have that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. You know, in your book, you deal with the issue of race in great detail. And one of the things Professor Bell said was racism is a permanent part of the American scene. In your book, Intellectuals in Society, you add these new chapters. When he says racism is a permanent part of the American scene, do you agree with that?
No, but I think it's a permanent part of the thinking of people who have a huge vested interest in racism. I think of a phrase used by Dinesh D'Souza a few years ago, that there are many black leaders who publicly claim that racism has not abated, but who privately are worried that it has, because where are they going to be without racism?
All right, and you have chapters on this in the new book. Dr. Sowell, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you.